Hello everyone, my name is Brittany Jones and I would like to welcome you to today's ReadyTalk webinar titled Coffee Talk with ReadyTalk. ReadyTalk is pleased to bring you this 30-minute webinar which is designed to provide you with an inside look at the ReadyTalk webinar platform and a chance to get your questions answered around all things ReadyTalk webinars. Before we get started today, I would like to cover a few housekeeping items. We will be recording this webinar, and a copy of today's slides will be emailed to you post-event. Also, if you have any questions during today's session, please feel free to submit them using the chat feature that's located at the bottom left of your screen. If you'd like to contribute to the social conversation surrounding this event, please use the hashtag ReadyTalkWebinars. We appreciate you all joining us today, and as a reminder, all attendees will receive a $5 coffee gift card for attending this webinar today. We will be sending this to you via email over the next few days, so keep an eye out. Here's a look at today's agenda. First, we'll cover why webinars. Then we'll do a ReadyTalk webinar platform overview, followed by what makes ReadyTalk different, concluding with what we're all here for, which is the Q&A, aka Coffee Talk, where you could talk amongst yourselves, where we'll give you a topic, no big whoop. That was for all you Coffee Talk fans out there. So why webinars? 60% of marketers are using webinars as part of their content marketing programs. Based on a survey we conducted with our customers, we found that between 20 and 40% of webinar attendees turn into qualified leads. We think that more marketers need to start incorporating webinars into their strategy, as it's one of the top, if not the top, channel for generating quality leads. All right, as I mentioned, we have a really great session in store for you today. I'm pleased to welcome you today's speaker, Adam Patterson, Integration Specialist at ReadyTalk. Adam has been with ReadyTalk for 2.5 years, and he's currently a member of the customer care team, but also serves as a part of our integrations and training teams. He thoroughly enjoys working at ReadyTalk and appreciates the challenges and growth that he has and continues to experience. As for his personal life, Adam has been married for 9 years and is a father to 2 little boys. He and his family love soaking up the outdoors and all the activities that Colorado has to offer. So with that, Adam, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Brittany. I appreciate it. Yeah, so as Brittany mentioned, we're going to go ahead and just take a dive into the ReadyTalk webinar, just looking at the platform. And as you can see here on the screen, we kind of break it down into 3 different sections. We've got a pre-webinar that's going to lay out some tools to plan and really promote your webinars, get that information out there. We are going to take a look at during your webinars, which is going to allow you for engaging your audience during the live presentation. And then we've also got a post section, so post-webinar. So once it concludes, what you can do to share and follow up after that takes place. So here you can see under each of those there are a lot of different tools, a lot of customizations you're going to get for both pre, in-meeting, and post-meeting. So through this presentation, we're going to take a look at each of those and break those down a little bit further. So we'll go ahead and start with pre-webinar. So some of those tools to plan and get that information out that we offer here at ReadyTalk. First of all, webinar branding. We allow for flexible and customizable invitations. We allow for registration confirmations, which integrates into our streamlined integrations and those platforms we'll cover a little bit later on here. Marketing campaigns are available to you. Social media and PR tools, which are going to allow you to promote that. And we also offer some pretty stellar support here through ReadyTalk. So on the front end, as a chairperson or as a host, you're going to get into your conference center, and that's kind of the central hub for you, where you're going to get in, you're going to do a lot of things. You're going to be looking at reporting, but more importantly for this part, you're going to be scheduling the meeting and that pre-information, getting stuff set up on the front end. So this would be the first page, and as you can see here, you have a meeting type, and it's going to break it down into web and audio. And then right below specifically is going to be the audio type. So for on demand, when this is selected as a default, this just means that you as the chairperson or as the host are going to be facilitating all of the audio yourself. All very, very simple to do. But that means things like muting lines, unmuting lines, starting and stopping recording. So things of that nature will be ran by you. On the other hand, you can see right next to that there is a circle bubble that can be selected that says Operator Assisted. So if you do go ahead and request an Operator Assisted event be set up, that will get an audio operator on the line with you for the entire duration of your conference, including a 30-minute pre-conference. And that's going to allow that individual then to go ahead and take care of all of the audio. So all that you need to do is worry about your presentation. So at that point, they'll do things like start and stop the recording, mute and unmute lines. They can facilitate an audio Q&A where they'll put people into a queue and unmute their lines individually. So you do have some options there as well. As we advance into the next page through the setup process, here is really where you're going to get into the customizations pre-meeting, getting all of the things set up. You can see for each of these options, there's an edit option. You can get in there, tailor it to your likings before anything actually goes out live. So a few things here. You can see branding and presenters. This is going to allow you the ability to customize the branding that goes out to your audience. So all of the pages, all of the forms, all of the emails are going to have a custom branding on there. You can also add presenter information, so things like bios, photos for all of your presenters, guest speakers that may be joining you, and that will also be public facing on all of those pages and emails that go out. For marketing individuals, campaign option is going to be probably great interest. This is going to allow you to generate unique URLs, and you can take those unique URLs, put them on different pages. You can send them out in email blasts. And as folks click on those links and as folks start registering through those links, we are going to generate on the back end a report that is made available to you post-meeting. And you'll be able to see total numbers of clicks and registrations, percentages, and we break that out into a nice pie chart so you can really see where all of your registration is being generated from. We also allow the ability for promotional tools through social media, so you can see a few of those here, in addition to participant promotional tools. You can also pass it on to your participants to continue promoting even further through that social media. So you're unable to see it on the screen right here, but we also, through the same page, allow you to build out a customizable survey, which allows you directly after the conclusion of your meeting to redirect your audience into a post-meeting survey. And the survey questions are very customizable, so you can collect a lot of data on the back end as well. And we'll go over that a little bit later on in the training. Lastly on this page, we'll cover the registrations. You'll see that you've got a registration form and email that you can customize, including custom questions that you can create outside of what ReadyTalk already provides. That's really good to know because as we go into our next slide here, it's good to know that you can either generate the registration directly through the ReadyTalk platform or through all of our cloud integrations. So you can see we have a great number of different platforms that we integrate with. And so it's good as a marketer to know that you have the ability to either run that through ReadyTalk as far as the registration, or you can also run that registration through all of our cloud integrations. So again, there's a large number of those. I'm part of the team that manages these integrations. We also mentioned we've got stellar support. Our customer care is great. I would say beyond customer care, it's a very technical role. So if you ever have technical issues, troubleshooting that you need to take a deep dive into, our customer care is just a phone call away. We pick up on the first ring. We've also got that integration support team who is also available in a moment's notice. We've got a dedicated account management team that will take your account from start to finish. It's just going to walk you all the way through the process. You're always going to have that dedicated individual to reach out to anytime you need something. And then lastly, we have an events team that will run those operator-assisted events that I mentioned earlier. So anything that you need, again, start to finish through those events, they are going to be there to assist you on the operator-assisted side of things. So as we move out of the pre-webinar and into the actual live webinar, during your webinar, there are a few things that you're going to see here, and we're going to walk through those in a minute. So things like integrated webinar audio controls, appointing co-presenters, which just means that you can take anybody who joins as a participant and you can promote them to a co-presenter level, allowing them to push slides, share their desktop, and things of that nature as well. Webinar recordings are available. You can upload, pre-upload, and present the webinar slides in your live webinar. You've also got the ability for application and desktop sharing, interactive polling for your audience, video clip playback, and text chat, as you may be accustomed to, as Brittany mentioned earlier, you can do right now. So as we take a look at some screenshots, we're first going to start with what you would see as a chairperson or what you would see as a co-presenter once you've been promoted. So here are our conference controls, and this is really where you're going to run the live event from. So on the top left corner, you're going to see a participant list, so a real-time eye on who all is joining the web and the audio. Down below that, you've got your audio controls. Rather than having to key it into your phone, you can press buttons to mute and unmute. You can also see at the top that you can start your recording. Down below in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see that you have the chat box that allows you to chat out to anybody, including your co-presenters. Along the top, you see those buttons where you're able to share your desktop, enable webcams, And then down below, you'll see the slide deck that we're currently cycling through on our end, and this allows you to upload that presentation and cycle through it very fluidly. From the participant interface, again, we try to keep it simple, we try to keep it clean, but you'll see that it is still very functional. So we've got the ability to chat back and forth with the presenters, raise your hand if you may have a question if you are in a muted state, and you can also connect to the audio directly through your computer if that VoIP option is enabled. As far as some requirements and some abilities that you have, we do support all of the platforms. So you can see through PC, Apple, and Linux-based machines, you can get into our meetings. We also offer a mobile application for your mobile devices. So if you're wanting to join meetings or start audio meetings, you can do that through our mobile application. And you'll also see that we support all of the main browsers. So Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, and Safari, we fully support all of those browsers, whether you're joining or whether you're starting a meeting. So these are some screenshots. As you can see here, again, from the Apple side, we support iPads and iPhones. You can join the web and audio as a participant. You can start that audio meeting as a chairperson. And then on the right side, same functionality between Android devices, a little different of a screenshot, but again, all of the same functionality, whether you are joining as a participant or whether you are hosting the meeting as a chairperson. We also mentioned that you can build out custom pollings, which are going to be interactive during your live event, and here are some screenshots of how you would do that. You can see from the screenshot we have a large list of customized polling questions, so multiple choice, single answer, multiple choice, multiple answer, text box, rating scales. You can build all of these out, and you can put as many polls down there as you'd like, and you can see more over to the right side of your screen. That's what it would look like when you push the poll out. You can display results to your audience as well. And we'll also generate a report post-meeting that will complete all of those polling answers for those individuals, and you'll be able to take a look at those after your meeting has concluded. Video clip playback is another option. So rather than having to share your desktop, you can simply upload something like an MP4 or an MP3 file directly into your slide deck. You can do that ahead of time so that when you get in there and you go through your presentation, you can simply click play. All of the visuals, all of the audios will be pushed out directly through the web, so there's nothing special that a participant needs to do other than just sit back and enjoy the clip that you push out to them. We do leverage Level 3 as our audio provider on the back end, and if you're not familiar with Level 3, that's a really great thing. So the first bullet point that you can see is this is a scalable, fully redundant global network. So they are worldwide, and they've been doing it for a long time and doing it well for a long time. Level 3 is always going to go over Tier 1 carriers, which means you're going to get the best quality and the best consistency in all of your audio. They have active echo cancellation, intelligent conference routing, and capacity planning, which means you can go up to very large events during your webinars and not have to worry about the size. All right, so as we move out of post and we've gone through the actual live webinar, we're going to move into the post-webinar, which is going to allow you to share and follow up after that concludes. So we're going to take a look at webinar follow-up emails. We're going to take a look at some webinar reporting. There is pain-free recording and editing. There is affordable archiving for recordings available to you. For those recordings, there's a very easy playback solution. And again, as far as promoting, there is social media and podcasting that you can send those recordings out to. There's post-webinar integration, so the back-end information that you're going to get, you can integrate, as well as a post-webinar survey that I mentioned a little bit earlier on. All right, so these are a couple of screenshots of our recording functionality. As we mentioned earlier on, you have the ability to record, and that is going to capture all of your audio. That's going to capture all of your video, and that's going to bundle it in a really nice recording. And I always mention when we're talking about recordings that it is a very universally friendly format. So if it's audio only, we're going to give you an MP3, which is going to be widely accepted regardless of what kind of player you're using. And then when it's visual and audio, we're going to use MP4, and we're going to allow you to download those as well. But as you can see right here, you can capture those. You can edit the recordings, so you can trim out pieces that maybe you didn't want, so you can get that recording down to exactly like you like it. You can share that in a number of ways. You can report back to who is listening to your recording. So if you are hosting the meetings with us and you send that playback URL out, you can turn on custom registration for the recording specifically and continue to gather some additional data for those folks who listen afterwards. And lastly, the recording functionality allows you to integrate into those platforms that we mentioned earlier. So as far as mentioning integrations and all of the integrations we looked at on the earlier slide, so you may be wondering, okay, well what exactly can we do with the integrations? There's a lot of data, as can be seen here, that can be passed through to your database. So things like your registration data. So who all is attending, what their registration questions and answers were. On the right, you'll see that we can pass through attendance data. So when did they join? When did they drop off? Total duration, things of that nature. Recording data will be passed through as well. And then interactivity data. So things like polling questions and answers and post-survey questions and answers. So it's a very comprehensive, through these cloud elements and these cloud integrations, there's a very comprehensive amount of data that can be passed from the ReadyTalk platform very seamlessly into your marketing platform as you integrate with those. So what makes ReadyTalk different? We have a very easy to use interface. Regardless of if you're a chairperson or presenter or if you are on the participant side, it's very intuitive. It's very easy to get in and navigate through without feeling like you're lost. We have a lot of features that are specific to webinars at your fingertips. There are no downloads, which makes it very easy to join a meeting and just jump in very quickly. We integrate with our high quality, again, going back to level 3. We've got stellar support and service, which is always available. Again, it's a phone call, a chat, or an email. Right away, you're going to get somebody on the line. We easily leverage recorded content and get that out there. And then again, we have those integrations that are just going to make you, as your users, lives a lot easier to get that information to sync up. So that was just a brief synopsis, and before we move into the Q&A session, just again one reminder that there is going to be that $5 Starbucks card that's going to be sent in the next couple of days just for joining. So we really appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Brittany as well, and we're going to go ahead and address some questions.
Sounds great. Thank you, Adam. It is now time for Coffee Talk. So we have a few questions for you from the audience, Adam. I'll start with the first one here, and the question is, how many presenters can you have?
All right, so presenters, there is no current limit. So the sky's the limit. We've had up to 10 and 15, but if you needed to have more than that, you can feel free to do so.
Great. Moving along here. It sounds like you may have already mentioned this, but are attendees automatically muted upon entering the webinar?
That's a great question, and they can be. So not by default, but you can as you dial in. You can automatically mute all lines as you start up that webinar so everyone comes in a muted state, or if you're leveraging our self-serve broadcast audio feature like we are today, that does actually allow for everyone to come in automatically in a muted state.
Great. And I'm going to combine a few questions here because they're very similar, but first starting with, can you give me a better idea of what your events team helps with during a live webinar? And following that question, are you available during the live event if I can't log in?
Perfect. So two things. First of all, we have 24-hour, 7-day-a-week support. So regardless of what you run into, we're always going to be available through our customer care number, which we can always assist you with in those events. But more importantly, yes, our events team is many times going to be a part of those events if you're needing them to. And they're going to walk you through, again, start to finish, from the very first time that you request the event be set up on the back end on ReadyTalk, through the process of setting that up until your live webinar. So things like whether or not you'll need a recording just are automatically done by the operator. You can let them know what kind of content you're going to be running through. They're essentially going to assist in any of the dotting the I's, crossing the T's before the webinar. And again, if you need them to be, in addition to the audio operator, you can have an event manager from our events team join you to assist on the web as well. So we really try to provide that support as much as you need to feel comfortable and confident in your event. We'll give to you.
Great. And next question is, do you use Flash?
That's a great question. Currently, we do use Flash, but we are in the process of migrating to HTML5. So for the engineering team, it has been a rather large project. It's good to announce that we are well underway in moving folks over to HTML5, which is a good thing for everybody. So we are in the process, like I said, but hopefully before too long, we'll have everybody fully migrated over to HTML5.
Great. And where is the recording stored?
So the recording is stored back in your conference center. So earlier on in the pre-webinar, as we were looking at that, I mentioned that's kind of the central hub for you as a chairperson. And that's where you would log in and you would see all of your recorded content. So you log in there. On the left-hand side, you'll see something that says Manage Recordings. You'll click on that, and that's going to list all of your hosted recordings with ReadyTalk. And you can host those with ReadyTalk as long as you would like to. And you can get in there, and everything that we looked at earlier as far as editing and repurposing those recordings is always going to be right at your fingertip.
All right. Next question is, can these videos be on YouTube? I'm not sure if this is for the recording or if they're talking about the video playback, but maybe answer both of those.
Okay. I mean, as far as uploading our recordings, absolutely. Very simple to do, again, because we try to put the recordings into a very simple to use format. You can very simply upload those. I guess first, actually, you download those from ReadyTalk as an MP4, and then you can very easily upload those to YouTube. I know at ReadyTalk we have done that with our own recordings in-house just so we can get that more public-facing.
All right, thanks.
Sure.
Next question is, how many unique registration URLs can you create for a single event?
That's a great question, and I have not hit a limit so far. So I have in my testing done a lot. To my knowledge, there is no cap. So from, again, a marketing perspective, you can feel free to go nuts and create all the URLs you want and get that out there so you can start tracking that information.
All right. Next question is there or will there be video capability so the speaker attendees can see each other?
Yeah, so we do currently have video conferencing, and you may have seen, and you can go back through the slides or the recording afterwards, but we do have video conferencing that is enabled, and as part of our migration over to HTML5, we are enhancing that. We're making it a little bit better than it has been in the past, but you absolutely have the ability to share your webcam both out with the audience, and you can have additional people from your audience or additional speakers that you've maybe joined as a co-presenter share their cameras with the audience as well.
Great. And in addition to that, we also actually have a webcasting platform which provides broadcast video. So a video feed that's 1 to many, which would be to the audience.
Correct.
All right. Another question here from Erica. It says, I use ReadyTalk a lot. However, I'm typically demoing or training on an internal database. So I pull up the database and share my screen. Are there features during the screen share to use a pointer or circle for something on the screen? Like, is there when you're using an uploaded PowerPoint?
Sure. No, that is a great question, and we do in our. I mean, as you may have seen earlier, I had some stamps that were going on here, and you can see those annotation tools now, in addition to some other markup tools. So we do have those annotation tools available to you both during your uploaded content, but as well as your screen share session. So regardless if you're sharing a Word doc, an Excel spreadsheet, a website, or anything else, you can still leverage those annotation tools and mark up your desktop as well. So great question.
Great. And another question here, do you have any best practices on when you should start promoting a webinar and how many reminders you would suggest?
Yeah, so as a best practice, I would suggest not promoting any further out than 3 weeks in advance. The invitations that perform the best are usually the ones closest to the event time, the actual live date and time. As for reminders, we found sending one the day before and one on the day of gives the best attendance rate. And the average attendance rate, as far as all of that is concerned for webinars, can range typically between 30 and 40%.
Great. And what tactics do you find helpful in making sure your audience stays engaged during the webinar?
Sure, absolutely. And that's a great question and a great thought to keep in mind, because going through just slides sometimes can get a little bit much. So changing it up with things like sweepstakes for attending, polling questions here and there throughout your presentation, or again those videos that you can play out during, and kind of changing things up a little bit are going to be really great to make sure that they stay engaged, make sure they stay active, and are really getting all the content out of your meeting.
All right. And what makes your marketing automation integrations different from other webinar platforms?
Really, the cloud elements is what's going to make it key. So again, we, as you've seen through the presentation, we've got a lot of different data that can be pulled in there, pre-meeting, post-meeting, and those cloud elements are what's going to really expand your ability to have a much larger option in pulling those into all kinds of different platforms, all kinds of data.
All right. You mentioned how you can use these integrations for marketing campaigns. Can you give an example?
Sure. So the specific data that can be passed includes things like attendance data, questions, survey questions and answers, polling questions and answers, etc. So you could automate converting leads into MQLs based on a late stage survey question, for example, or answer about your product. You can send question information over to sales so they can have a very specific follow-up once you conclude. You can ask a poll question on what technologies they are using and generate programs based upon those answers that you get back. Really, ideally, the more personalized the follow-up, the better for that.
Great. So a question from Tony. Can attendees be promoted to a presenter and then demoted?
Absolutely. That is a possibility. So I just had a call that I was on with somebody earlier today where we were walking through that. You as the chairperson always have the ability to demote somebody back to a participant, and they can also decline at any point that promotion and demote themselves. So absolutely, you can go back and forth during your webinar.
All right, and this is our last question. What is the capacity of the recording storage?
There is currently no recording capacity, so you can have as many recordings with us, and those recordings can be as long as they want. So we do not have any limitations when it comes to recordings. All
right. Thank you, Adam. If we didn't get to your question today, we'll make sure to reach out to you after the webinar and get those questions answered. We are about out of time today, so I'd like to remind you all that we will be emailing you the link to today's recording along with a link to download the webinar presentation. Also, we'd love to get your feedback, so please take a few moments of your time to fill out the brief survey that you'll see when you exit today's session. With that, Adam, thank you once again for a fantastic presentation. That ends our webinar for today. Thank you and have a great day, everyone.